I hadn't even parked all the way before I saw it. My mother standing in the doorway, arms crossed, telling my daughter she wasn't family anymore after she flew 6 hours, alone, at 19, for their wedding anniversary. They didn't let her inside. And I didn't yell. I did something worse. Tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. I need to know who's out there listening to this story. Now, let me tell you what happened the day everything fell apart. My daughter Emma had saved for 3 months to afford that plane ticket. She worked double shifts at a coffee shop near her college campus, hiding tips in a mason jar she kept under her dorm bed. She didn't tell me she was planning to surprise them. If she had, I would have warned her. I would have protected her from what I already knew was coming. But maybe she needed to see it for herself. Maybe we both did. My parents had been planning their 50th anniversary party for over a year. Golden invitations, catered dinner, a reunion of family members who hadn't spoken in decades. The whole production. They'd rented out the country club where my father used to golf before his hip surgery, hired a photographer, even commissioned a video montage of their life together. Emma wasn't invited. Neither was I, technically. My invitation came through my brother Michael, always the mediator, always trying to hold our fractured family together with watered-down hope and careful silence. He'd texted me a photo of the invitation with a single line. Maybe this could be a fresh start. Fresh start. As if the past could be swept under imported Italian tile and three-tier anniversary cakes. The thing about my family is that we've always been good at pretending. My mother could serve dinner to a table full of people who despised each other and make it look like a Norman Rockwell painting. She had this gift for rewriting history while it was still happening, editing out the uncomfortable parts, keeping only what photographed well. And for most of my life, I let her. I was the daughter who didn't make waves, the one who apologized first, even when I hadn't done anything wrong, the one who showed up to every holiday with homemade pie and a practiced smile, who knew exactly how to navigate the minefield of my mother's moods and my father's calculated indifference. But Emma? Emma never learned those rules. She was born honest in a family that valued appearance, born loud in a family that whispered their rage, born herself in a family that demanded performance. The problem started when Emma was 15. That was the year she quit piano after 10 years of lessons my parents had paid for, competitions they'd attended, a baby grand they'd bought specifically for their prodigy granddaughter. She wanted to play guitar instead, electric guitar, in a band, with boys who had tattoos and drove beaten-up vans. My mother called it a phase. My father called it disrespectful. I called it Emma finding her voice. The real fracture came during her senior year of high school. My parents had her whole life mapped out, pre-med at their alma mater, specialization in cardiology, like my father, marriage to someone from their church, grandchildren, who would carry on the family name and tradition. Emma got into their alma mater, full scholarship. She turned it down. Instead, she chose art school, in Portland, with the money she'd saved from teaching kids guitar and selling her paintings at local markets. She didn't ask for their blessing. She didn't ask for their money. She just chose. The night she told them, my mother actually laughed. Not a cruel laugh, worse, a dismissive one. Like Emma had just told a joke that wasn't quite funny enough to warrant real attention. "You'll change your mind," she said, already moving on to ask Michael about his promotion. But Emma didn't change her mind, and my parents never forgave her for it. They started small, forgetting to call on her birthday, sending checks for Christmas instead of gifts, then eventually just cards, then nothing. They'd ask about Michael's children in detail, but change the subject when Emma's name came up. Family photos from gatherings she wasn't invited to appeared on Facebook like small acts of war. I tried to bridge it at first. Invited them to Emma's art shows, sent them photos of her paintings, videos of her performing with her band. My mother would respond with one word, "Nice." My father wouldn't respond at all. The final break came last year when Emma got her first gallery exhibition. A real one, in a legitimate gallery, with wine and little cheese cubes and strangers willing to pay actual money for her work. She was 18, and she'd done it entirely on her own. She called them herself. I listened from the kitchen as she tried to keep her voice steady, professional, adult. "I know we haven't talked much, but this is really important to me. I'd love if you could come." My mother's response was so cold I could feel it through the phone. "We have plans that weekend." They didn't ask which weekend it was. Emma hung up and looked at me with eyes that were trying so hard not to cry. "Why don't they love me, Mom?" What could I say? that they only loved the version of her they'd imagined, that their love came with terms and conditions she'd never agreed to, that some parents eat their young rather than watch them fly. I held her while she cried, and something in me hardened into decision. I wasn't going to let Emma go. When she called me 2 weeks before the anniversary, breathless with excitement about her plan to surprise them, my first instinct was to stop her, to protect her from the inevitable rejection. But I heard something in her voice I recognized. Hope, the same hope I'd carried for 30 years, that maybe this time would be different. Maybe this time they'd see us. I bought a dress, Mom, a conservative one, navy blue. Grandma always said I looked good in navy blue. My heart broke cleanly in half. And I'm bringing flowers. Those yellow roses she likes, from that expensive florist downtown. Each word was a knife, but I couldn't bring myself to twist it by telling her the truth, that she could show up in a ball gown made of stars, and they still wouldn't see her as worthy. Do you want me to come with you? I asked instead. No, I want to do this myself. I want to show them I'm an adult now, that I can be part of the family without you running interference. So I let her go, but I followed. Call it mother's intuition or just years of knowing how my parents operated, but I knew they'd hurt her. I just didn't know they'd do it so publicly, so cruelly, with such practiced precision. I parked across the street, far enough that they wouldn't see me, but close enough that I could watch. I saw Emma walk up the driveway in that navy blue dress that she probably couldn't afford, carrying those roses that definitely cost more than she should have spent, her head high and her smile nervous but real. I saw my mother open the door. I saw her face change from confusion to recognition, to something I can only describe as disgust. They didn't even let her speak first. My mother's voice carried across the lawn, sharp and clear. What are you doing here? Emma's voice was smaller, younger. I came for your anniversary. I wanted to surprise. We've decided you're not family anymore. Just like that. No build-up, no explanation. A declaration as simple as stating the weather. Emma stood there, flowers trembling in her hands. I don't understand. My father appeared behind my mother, and for one moment, I thought he might soften it, might show a crack of humanity. Instead, he put his hand on my mother's shoulder in solidarity. You made your choice, he said. When you rejected everything we offered you, you rejected us. We've moved on. You should too. But I'm your granddaughter. My mother laughed. That same dismissive laugh from years ago, but sharper now, meant to wound. No, you're someone we used to know. The real family is inside, the family that respects what we've built, that honors our values. You're not welcome here. And then this is the part that made me stop breathing. She stepped back and closed the door. Not slammed, closed, quietly, deliberately, like Emma was a salesperson who'd overstayed her welcome. Emma stood on that porch for another full minute, flowers dropping petals at her feet, before she turned and walked back to her rental car. She didn't see me. She was too busy trying not to exist. Shoulders curved inward like she was physically trying to take up less space in the world. I waited until she drove away before I got out of my car. I didn't knock. I used the key they'd given me 15 years ago, the one I'd never returned despite the distance between us. The one I'd kept thinking maybe, someday, I'd need it for an emergency. This was an emergency. The party was in full swing in the backyard. Cousins and church friends, and my father's former colleagues, all gathered around tables decorated with gold and white, raising champagne glasses to 50 years of marriage. Michael was giving a speech about commitment and family values. Nobody noticed me walk through the house. I found what I was looking for in my father's study, his computer, logged in as always, because he could never remember passwords. The family photo files organized by year. The will documents, sitting in a folder labeled estate planning, like he wasn't paranoid about anyone finding them. But most importantly, I found the emails. Years of emails between my parents, discussing Emma like she was a problem to be solved, a cancer to be cut out. The word they used most often was disappointment, but there were others. Embarrassment, lost cause, not worth the effort. And then the most recent thread, dated just 3 days ago. If she shows up, we don't let her in. We've been more than clear. It's time to stop pretending she's part of this family. Michael's children deserve better examples. Michael's children. The golden grandchildren who did exactly as they were told, who played the right instruments, and chose the right schools, and never ever questioned why love had so many conditions. I forwarded everything to myself. Every cruel word, every calculated rejection, every moment they'd chosen pride over their own granddaughter. Then I went to the party. I didn't make a scene. I walked out to the backyard just as Michael was finishing his speech, applause rippling through the crowd. My mother saw me first, her smile freezing but not dropping, always the performer. She whispered something to my father, who turned to look at me with eyebrows raised in warning. I picked up a champagne glass and a knife, tapping them together until the conversations died down. "I'd like to say something," I announced, my voice steadier than my hands. "About family, since that seems to be the theme tonight." My mother's jaw tightened. "Sweetie, this isn't the time." "You're right," I said. "The time was an hour ago when your granddaughter stood on your porch with flowers, hoping to celebrate with you." The crowd shifted uncomfortably. "Good. Let them be uncomfortable. But since you decided she wasn't family anymore, I thought everyone here should know what that means. What family means to you." Michael stood up. "Can we discuss this privately? Like you discussed it privately when you all decided Emma was an embarrassment? When you wrote emails about cutting her out like she was cancer?" My father's face went from red to white. "You went through my computer? The same way you went through Emma's heart. Deliberately, thoroughly, without remorse." I pulled out my phone, holding it up so everyone could see I was ready to read. "Should I start with the email where you called her a lost cause? Or the one where Mom said she was relieved Emma wouldn't pollute Michael's children with her choices? Or maybe the one from last week, planning to turn her away if she showed up?" The silence was complete now. Even the catering staff had stopped moving. My mother tried to salvage it, her voice taking on that sugar-sweet tone she used when cornered. "This is a family matter." "No," I said, and my voice broke just a little. "Family matters are when you show up anyway. When you love anyway. When someone flies 6 hours with their last dollar just to say I still care about you and you let them in anyway." I looked around at the faces, some shocked, some uncomfortable, some already pulling out phones to text about the drama they were witnessing. You want to know what Emma's great sin was? She chose art over medicine. She chose herself over your plan. She chose authenticity over performance. And for that, you erased her. My father stood up, his voice commanding the way it used to when I was young and easily intimidated. "You need to leave. Now." "I will. But first, everyone here needs to know that the golden anniversary you're celebrating, the family values you're toasting, they're built on conditional love and calculated cruelty. They're built on throwing away a 19-year-old girl who just wanted to belong." I set down the champagne glass, my hands finally steady. "Oh, and Mom? Dad? That family trust you're so proud of? The one that requires unanimous family approval for any changes. Emma just became a beneficiary. I added her this afternoon with the emergency powers you gave me when Dad had his surgery, the ones you forgot to revoke." My mother's face went from red to purple. "You can't." "I can. I did. And unless you want me to post these emails to every family member, every church friend, every colleague who thinks you're such devoted grandparents, you'll honor it." The party ended within 15 minutes. People made excuses about early mornings and long drives, hugging my parents with the awkward distance of those who'd witnessed something too real for comfort. My mother stood frozen in place, her perfect party dissolving around her like sugar in rain. Michael cornered me by my car. "How could you do that to them? At their anniversary? How could they do that to Emma? Ever?" He sighed, running his hand through his hair. "A gesture so like our father's it made me sick. She made her choices. She was 15 when this started." "Michael, 15. What choices did you make at 15 that should have defined your whole life?" He didn't answer. We both knew what choices he'd made, or rather, hadn't made. He'd followed the script, married the right woman, had the right children, taken the right job. He'd never risked disappointing them because he'd never risked being himself. "They'll never forgive you for this," he said finally. "Good. I don't want their forgiveness. I want Emma to know she's worth fighting for." I drove to Emma's hotel near the airport, found her crying in the lobby, still in that navy dress, mascara streaking her cheeks in perfect parallel lines. When she saw me, she crumbled. "How did you know I'd be here?" "Because I know you. Because I should have protected you. Because I've been where you are, and I let them make me small for 30 years before you were born." We sat in that hotel lobby until 3 in the morning, me telling her about every cruel thing they'd ever said, every manipulation I'd accepted, every time I'd chosen their comfort over my own truth. I showed her the emails, let her read every word, even though each one made her flinch. Why? She kept asking. Why couldn't they just love me? Because their love is about possession, not connection, about control, not care. And you, my brave girl, were uncontrollable. 3 days later, my phone rang at 6 a.m. My father, the trust, he said without preamble. Undo what you did with the trust. No, that money was never meant for her. That money was meant for family. Emma is family. My family, if not yours. He was quiet for a long moment. Then your mother is having chest pains, the stress of what you did, the stress of what I did, or the stress of people knowing who you really are. She's in the hospital. I'd heard this before. My mother's chest pains that appeared whenever she needed leverage, that mysteriously disappeared when she got her way. But this time, I didn't rush over. I didn't apologize. I just said, I hope she feels better. And I hung up. Michael called an hour later. It's a panic attack. But Dad wants you to know you're not welcome at the hospital. I wasn't planning to come. How can you be so cold? I learned from the best. The trust issue took 2 weeks to fully resolve. They tried everything, lawyers, threats, even sending my mother's sister to plead their case. But I'd done my homework. The emergency powers were ironclad, and Emma was now irrevocably part of the trust. Not just a beneficiary, an equal heir with Michael's children. It wasn't about the money, though the money mattered. It was about recognition. About Emma existing in the one place they couldn't erase her, their legacy. A month passed before my mother called me directly. You've destroyed this family, she said, her voice hollow. No, I revealed it. There's a difference. Everyone knows now. Everyone talks about us, about what happened at the party. Good. Maybe shame will teach you what love couldn't. She was quiet for so long I thought she'd hung up. Then I did love her, in my way. Your way was contingent. Your way was cruel. Your way was not love, it was ownership. She rejected everything we offered. She rejected your plans. Not you, never you. She kept trying, kept showing up, kept hoping right until the moment you closed that door in her face. We thought if we were firm, she'd come back. She'd realize she needed us. There it was. The truth under all the manipulation. They thought they could starve her into submission. They thought withdrawal of love was a teaching tool. She didn't need you, I said. She wanted you. There's a difference. And now she doesn't even want you anymore. My mother started crying, the first real tears I'd heard from her in 20 years. Can it be fixed? She asked. I don't know. That's not my decision. It's Emma's. Would she? Would she talk to me? Would you accept her as she is? Not as you wanted her to be? Silence. That's what I thought. Emma graduated from art school last month. I was there, front row, screaming embarrassingly loud when they called her name. She'd invited my parents, not because she forgave them, but because she wanted them to see who she'd become without their approval. They didn't come. Michael came, though, brought his kids. They seemed confused by the whole thing. Why their cousin they'd been taught to ignore was suddenly someone to celebrate. But they came. After the ceremony, Emma found me in the crowd. She was radiant, not just from accomplishment, but from something deeper, self-recognition. She'd become herself fully, without apology. They didn't come, she said, but it wasn't a question or a complaint, just a statement of fact. Did you expect them to? No, but I needed to invite them anyway, to prove to myself that their absence doesn't diminish this moment. We went to dinner, just the two of us. Over pasta and good wine, she told me about her plans, a fellowship in Italy, a gallery interested in her work, a life built on her own terms. Are you angry? She asked. About losing them? I didn't lose them. I chose you, and I'd make that choice again, every time. Even though they'll never forgive you? Especially because they'll never forgive me. Their forgiveness would mean I'd compromised, that I'd agreed Emma wasn't worth defending, that I'd chosen comfort over truth. 6 months have passed since the anniversary party. My parents have become ghosts in my life, present in memory, but absent in reality. Michael still sends updates, trying to bridge a canyon with threads of information. Mom's health, Dad's retirement. The family gatherings I'm no longer invited to. But Emma thrives. She sold her first major piece last month to a collector who had no idea about our family drama, who simply saw something true in her work. She sends me photos from Italy, where she's learning techniques from masters who see her potential, not her pedigree. The trust money sits untouched in her account. She says she's not ready for it yet, needs to know she can make it on her own first. But it's there, a safety net she earned, not through compliance, but through my defiance. My mother sent me a letter last week, handwritten, which meant she'd thought about every word. I see her art sometimes. Online. She's talented. I suppose she always was. I wish things were different, but wishing doesn't make it so. Some breaks can't be mended, only acknowledged. I hope you're happy with your choice. I wrote back, I am, every single day. Here's what I learned too late, but not too late to save Emma. Family isn't blood, it's not obligation, it's not maintaining peace at any cost. Family is choosing each other, over and over, especially when it's hard. Family is seeing someone fully and saying yes, all of it, even the parts that scare me. My parents could never do that. They could only love the idea of us, the version that fit their narrative. When we deviated from the script, we ceased to exist for them. But Emma and I, we exist for each other fully. In her art, I see my own suppressed creativity. In my defiance, she sees her own courage reflected back. We chose each other when choosing each other cost everything else. The morning of the anniversary party, Emma stood on that porch believing she was alone. She wasn't. I was there, watching, ready to catch her when she fell. Not to prevent the falling, she needed to see their truth, but to make sure she knew she was worth catching. They told her she wasn't family anymore. They were right. She wasn't their family. She was mine. Is mine. Will always be mine. And that distinction between their family and mine was the gift hidden in all that cruelty. It freed us both to stop begging for love from people who could only offer conditions. It freed us to build something better. My parents are still together, preparing for their 51st anniversary. The story around town is that I ruined their 50th, that I'm the ungrateful daughter who chose drama over family. Let them tell that story. Emma and I have a different one. One where a 19-year-old girl flew 6 hours to offer love and forgiveness, only to discover she didn't need to beg for either. One where a mother finally learned that protecting her daughter meant burning bridges, not building them. One where two women discovered that family isn't about blood or acceptance or tradition. It's about showing up, when showing up is terrifying. It's about choosing truth when lies would be easier. It's about saying you belong to me when the whole world says otherwise. Have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace and protecting someone you love? Tell me in the comments. I'm listening. They decided Emma wasn't family anymore. They were wrong. She's the only family that matters. And 30 minutes after they closed that door in her face, when I sent those emails to everyone they knew, when I changed that trust, when I stood up at their party and told the truth, that wasn't revenge. That was love. The kind they'll never understand, the kind that actually lasts.